All right, welcome back to the Hunter's Quest podcast. It's good to be back with you again. This is part 2 of the recap with Mark LIVESAY on this Idaho bear hunt we did last week. If you didn't hear that episode, I definitely recommend going back and checking it out. We talk about how we filled Mark's tag, his first tag, on a really beautiful blonde bear we called Butterball, and just the epic journey across canyon and across the river to go get that guy. So if you haven't seen it yet, or you haven't seen it or listened to it, go back and check that one out from last week. There's some sneak peek there's some sneak peek footage that I share on the YouTube version of the episode. I think there might be more on this episode as well, but so if you're interested in getting a little sneak peek, you can check this out on YouTube. But anyway, like I said, this week is all about the second half of our hunt, where I almost filled my tag on just a massive, beautiful chocolate that we named MEATBALL, but he ended up giving us the slip. You're going to hear all about it, so stick around. It's a good story. It's still a little bit stings that I didn't get that guy, but you know what? I learned a ton. I think you're going to learn a ton from listening to the story and all the takeaways we got from that. So enjoy the episode. If you're looking for a new pack, highly recommend the Initial Ascent packs. Use my code QUEST, save some money there, and you'll also support the show. Me and Mark were both wearing Initial Ascent packs on this trip, and they just performed beautifully, so I highly recommend it. And Joe and Dennis are great guys, so it's great to support them. So use that code QUEST and check out all the other good discount codes on the gear I got in the description field. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel as I'm continuing to try to grow and get my name out there and get the word out there. And please share with friends and family. Leave me a rating or review. I really appreciate all your support. Please keep supporting me. We got lots of good stuff planned for this fall. Several different hunts coming up on the books I'm really looking forward to, and film projects. So just, keep tuned. There's going to be some great stuff coming down the line. Thanks again for your support, guys. And let's just jump into this part 2 of the recap of our bear hunt and how I almost notched my first bear tag on an absolute giant, and he gave us the slip. So enjoy the episode, guys, and we'll see you next week. How are you doing on time? Because I don't normally go too much longer over like an hour.
No, I'm good. I just want to make sure I want to get a little bit into that bear that.
Yeah, I want to talk about MEATBALL too.
Let's fast forward to that.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do basically.
Okay.
So anyway, we then after that, we saw a few more bears across the river. I was kind of like, yeah, I really want to do it, but I also didn't want to do it, and Mark didn't really want to do it either. So we were like, let's find a bear on our side. So I think it was the next day we saw MEATBALL.
Next day or two. It was within 2 days. Well, it couldn't have been that much longer because Ryan and them were still gone.
Yeah. So we go down the other direction towards this other area Mark wanted to check out.
Further away from the truck.
Further away. And
now we're like 12 miles. Well, no, 9, about 11 miles. We went a couple miles down the trail.
Yeah. And so we're going up on this to a glassing spot, and we actually were thinking about doing some calling. Mark was like, hey, let's try to call one in. That'd be really cool. So we get up there, and literally Mark went over to put the call out. I was like changing shirts or something. I looked up, I was like, that area looks pretty good over there. And there was a big odd looking round rock. And I was like, let me just go ahead and glass this rock, because I'd glassed like 7 million rocks this week. And I was like, let me just make sure this rock is definitely a rock. And I pull up my glass, like, that is a bear. And so it turned out, and even though like I was being skeptical, like when you see it, like there's something just different. You kind of just know in the like deep down, like that's a bear. You just kind of have that feeling. So
it's funny. We talked about that. So, another tip here on this is that these bears, I don't know what the way to describe it, but maybe you can add to it, but they've got a shiny, reflective look to them. There's something about a bear. Now, I get fooled by a lot of black stumps. Let's just be honest. Okay.
Yeah. You have to check those.
That's right.
But there's something there. It's like something deep down.
Exactly.
That you just know.
Exactly. There's a shininess to it. There's
For
a
me, it's the shape,
reflection.
I think.
There's a shape. There's something about that bear that triggers that once you've seen a few,
something
you're just like,
down
oh,
in you.
that's a bear.
Yeah.
And you saw that bear first. I didn't like you glass that baby up on your own.
No, and you will see and I'll just going back to the bear thing. So, me coming out there, I was kind of like, I mean, they're big black blobs moving, like they're going to be super easy to see. No, especially in a burn area with lots of burned out stumps and rocks. It's very hard to spot, and they're animals. So it's very hard to spot them. You do end up glassing a lot of burned stumps. But yeah, when you see one, something way deep down your gut, just is like, that's a bear for sure. And then, so anyway, I look at it again. I'm like, it's a chocolate. It's big. I can tell he's big. And then Mark looked at him. He's like, oh yeah, he's a nice
freaking tank.
Yeah. And he was right
the
out
best bear,
opening.
Definitely the best bear of the trip. No doubt about it. Hands down, the best bear that I've seen yet. Ryan, all the footage I've seen so far of all the bears we glassed, and we glassed a lot of bears. That bear was a freaking tank.
Yeah. Gosh, it makes me so mad. But anyway, so we see him.
And he's on our side of the river.
Yeah, he's on our side, and he's below the trail. Like, we don't even have to go up for this bear. We'd be going down for this bear.
Yeah.
And it would have been just like an awesome pack. Anyway, I get excited right away. He's kind of moving, so we decide let's get closer to this thing, and we just kind of bombed off the backside of this thing down to the trail, and we were at 480 from him, and arguably I might have been able to get prone there and send one, but we decided to try to get closer.
Well, so let's back up again. So here we are. We got this bear. He's on a slope, like you said. He's below the trail guys, but he's not in an incredibly open area.
Yeah,
there's patches of open. There's patches, small openings. So it was really important when we left the spot that we were, that we took a route that we could keep our eyes on him the whole way down. So our number one, well, not number one, but one of our big objectives with this bear, at least my objective was, we had to take maybe a less desirable way down. We didn't take the ridge down. You remember, we took this kind of ditch down. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
So we did that because we wanted to go down on the side we could keep our eyes on him the whole way down. Because I was worried for a couple.
Man, I was like on him like
there was two things at worry here. Number one, he's a big freaking bear. Number two, he's in some small dispersed openings. Mm-hmm. And number three, that we didn't even talk about this, we glassed him really early in the morning. So I was stressing it was about 9:30, 10 o'clock.
I was trying to remember.
Remember, it was early. And I was worried when you see bears that early, they might be on the move. And I was getting nervous so I'm like, we got to keep our eyes on this bear. So we did a good job on that. We get to the trail and we can still see the bear at that point. Mm-hmm. That's when we were like whatever we were. We were about the 500 yard. Yeah. And, a lot of guys would just shoot, right? They would. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I have a tremendous respect for these animals. And this kind of goes into the next decisions that we made too. And
let me jump in right here too.
Yeah.
Because I want to say, this was my first Western bear hunt. Not super experienced Western hunter. I mean, only doing it for like 3 years. This is my first bear hunt out west. I've done bear here, but it's totally different. So, as Mark is much more experienced than me and been doing this a lot longer than me, I was in a lot of ways kind of deferring to Mark. Really, this is how the dynamic was. Like, Mark was almost kind of like helping me.
So what you're basically setting me up for not getting this bear is what you're doing.
No, I'm just being honest. That's the dynamic of it. Like, I'm kind of taking this secondary role as the least experienced guy, which I think is a natural thing for most people, whatever. So, there may be some things I would have done differently. I don't know. But anyway, that's just the dynamic. And it was fine. It was cool. So that I just want to like set that as
yes, we had a shot.
Dynamic.
We had a shot and we could have taken that shot, but it was going to be a long shot. And the bear was coming towards us. So we were going to have to wait for him to give us a broadside shot. And I was worried that if we laid down right there for a shot, and he got into the timber where we got our eyes off of him. There was a lot of risks in taking a shot from there.
And 500 is like the edge of my effective range too.
Well, and he was only a few hundred yards below the trail. Well, we thought. Yeah. He actually ended up being only 100 yards below the trail. Yeah. And I thought that once we got down the trail, we'd be able to see those openings better than we could.
Right.
So anyway, we decided to make a calculated risk to get closer, and the wind was blowing up perfectly up river.
Yeah.
So the wind was money.
Uphill.
Blowing uphill, basically blowing up canyon.
Yeah.
And so, and it was a prevailing wind. It wasn't thermals.
Yeah, it stayed steady.
Yeah, because it was early enough in the morning that the wind should have been going downhill at that point still, but the prevailing wind was stronger than the thermals, and that's a good situation because it's more predictable, right?
Yeah.
So, and that also comes in later. So we scurry down the trail, and so again, guys, we didn't just go after him. We landmarked him. We looked. We saw these rocks. We saw the bend in the trail. I saw this broken off, burned tree. I glassed, dropped some points. We did some we took our time. This is important.
Yeah.
And so we started making
another area where I'm glad you were there, because I was kind of like,
let's go. I'm like, we got to drop some pins.
Yeah. And I didn't know where he was. So you helped us get like close. And then because I remember a couple of times I was like, dude, let's just freaking go back and just try him at 480. Cause I didn't think we were going to like find him again. It was so thick in there. And you're like, no.
So once we got over there, so what you're saying is once we got over there, we couldn't see as well as we thought we might be able to see.
Right. And I was getting nervous he was going to wind us or see us or something, because he was close to the trail, or we thought he was
very close,
bed up close to the trail.
Well, remember we saw multiple scat piles like fresh on the trail.
Yeah, big
piles, giant scat piles.
Dude, that like set the scene of like we're coming into this dude's living room, because like
he's been living there. This bear was
like
freaking living there.
Yeah, that was cool. So so we get in there, and then I kept saying let's go back and try to get a shot, and then you're like no, and then you said like he's right. I can't remember what happened.
That pin is he's right here.
Yeah. And I look over.
I don't know how you saw that bear.
It was just miraculous.
I still don't know how you saw. I don't know how you saw him.
It was totally a God thing, I guess. I don't know, but whatever. I look over, and I just literally at that moment I looked straight over. I didn't even look like hard or look for a long time. I turned my head, and I see what looks like a face looking at me. And it was there was a tree like this, and right between the two trees, there was just a face just looking at me. And I was like, whoa, he's right. I was like, Mark, he's right there.
And then it took me several minutes to even find the dang thing.
Yeah.
And
tucked in there.
So the point was, this bear is so old and so mature. That dude was out in the open for literally minutes.
Yeah.
And he went straight to bed. He was already in his bed by 10:30, 11 o'clock, which is normally when we start seeing bears.
Right.
So this bear was an early riser, which is not that normal for my experience. And he went to bed like early. So when you saw him, he was completely bedded down.
He was bedded.
He was in a tree. He was next to a log in a tree well, just totally hidden from the world.
Not in a bunch of log. It was one of those
surrounded by buckbrush.
He had tons of logs that has all the dead limbs on it. So he was really like enclosed in a very brushy spot.
He was in a perfect spot for the bear.
Yeah.
That dude was stretched out. I'm like, okay, this bear's dead. This bear is freaking. He
was 100 yards from us.
103 yards. I ranged him so many times. I about wore the battery out on my rangefinder because it was kind of hard to range him with all that brush in there.
Yeah, very brushy.
So we walked. Literally, guys, so here's another lesson. That bear could see us on the trail. There's no doubt. But he couldn't see us. Bear's vision is just terrible. It's just terrible. And we took some chances, but we walked up and down that trail multiple times looking for an angle that we could get. So we finally settled on the spot that was the best possible shot, put you on it. You got set up.
Mm-hmm.
And we literally, we camped out there for what, 5 hours, 6 hours?
Yeah. So we set up on this thing, and you couldn't tell what part of the body you were looking at. It was just like a little like lump of fur, basically, that we could see at the base of this tree, like covered very thickly by brush. And he was, once every hour and a half, he would wake up and scratch himself and like scratch his balls or something, and then just like fall back asleep.
And he'd flip around. He'd flip around.
Yeah.
Like one moment he'd be laying with his head uphill. The next hour he'd switch around, his head downhill.
Yeah.
And like you said, it was real hard to pin him down. We had a couple of opportunities that we knew exactly which way he was laying.
Yeah.
And we talked about it so many times. Like there was I would guess a 5 or 6 inch window that we could squeeze a bullet through, right?
I even said, like, I think I can squeeze one in there.
Well, so here's another tip, guys.
It was sketch.
So I told you this tip, and I think you probably already, I don't know if you knew it or not. So guys, when you see a bear like that, or you see an animal like that that's bedded in the brush, there's one thing you can do that is really, really important. So when you've got your binoculars and you're zoomed, or your scope, and you're focused in on the bear, guys, okay? It's really important to note that you can't see the limbs between you and that animal unless you're very close, because they're out of your focal plane.
Right.
So what you have to do is take your binoculars and back the focus out all the way and go all the way in to pick out any of the limbs that are in between.
Yeah.
And we did that. And so we knew that we had some limbs, but we knew we had a tiny, tiny window, right? Yeah. But so then what I did is I looked around that bear 360. I'm like, okay, how is that bear going to get away? I'm like, we looked to the left. If he went left, we had him. It was open. If he went away, we had him. It was open. If he went uphill, which I thought he was going to do because of all the scat on the trail, I figured he was going to lay there till he had to poop, and he was going to come up to that trail like there was 4 piles of poop on that trail.
Fresh.
So I figured he was going to come uphill, and we had him. It was a no question. So then I said something to you. This is where I made the big mistake. So I said to you, okay, dude, it got later in the afternoon. I said, we got to shoot before 4:00. I said, at 4:00, you got to take a shot. 4:30 max, we've got to shoot, because the thermals are going to switch, and that temperature is going to start dropping, and the wind's going to start going downhill. So we sat there, and it rained, and we sat there 5 hours. The patience was like, your patience was incredible.
I had my rifle up, and like he would like move to scratch himself, and I would hit record on both cameras and like get ready, and then he would just fall back out and go to sleep again. 5 hours, 5.5 hours.
I've never seen a bear lay that long. I have never seen a bear lay for that long.
I just kept thinking he's gonna stand up eventually, look around or something. Now I will say, looking back in retrospect, the mistake I made was, what I should have done is looked at every single possible scenario that could have happened and had a plan for it mentally, because I had plenty of time. There's no excuse for not being ready. So I assumed he was going to kind of stand up and go, because he had a log behind him, that he would kind of go to the right, and he would take a step that way or something, and I'd have a second. But what he ended up doing, which I didn't plan for mentally, was take a step directly towards me. So if I had run those in my head and known what I was going to do, I might have been able to squeeze this shot off. But basically, after 5.5 hours, he stood up and did something I was not expecting, and just looked straight at me, but only for, that's why I'm saying I would have had to be mentally prepared for this, because it was a second, maybe half a second. And he looked at me, and I was also kind of distracted by if I was going to hit record on the cameras, but I didn't have time. So I hesitated for literally a split second, and he ducked down in some brush and completely disappeared. One step gone. It looked like he went through a hole. That's right. So what happened was, I'm still not 100% sure, but I think that we were in the transition, that moment. Guys, we are talking less than a minute, maybe 2 minutes max, from the moment he stood up and stepped forward to the point where he bolted. Yeah. And what happened, guys, is it was my fault. Your job was the shooter
You're the film guy. My job is sitting there twiddling my thumbs. This was a huge mistake on my. I cost you that bear because I told you earlier that we had to shoot that bear at 4:30 before 4:30.
Yeah.
Well, it was 5. It was right at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And exactly what I said happened. The wind switched and I was sitting on that trail, totally spaced out, just freaking 5 hours later. And I felt the freaking wind on the back of my neck.
Oh, man.
And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And about the same time I started saying, whoa, 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 I see him. He literally just, he came out of his bed. I think he got the slightest wind of us. I think he got a slight taste of smell.
Because he didn't stand up and like stretch.
No, he didn't, but he didn't bolt. He just stood up and stepped.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, shit. So I'm scanning with my binoculars. I'm scanning. And then I picked him up. I could just see fur in the brush. And right about the time I saw the fur, he just loses his freaking mind. And he bolts and jumps off the edge of this cliff.
Yeah.
And he's gone. Yep. He is gone.
I just saw movement disappear and I was like, oh,
I saw his butt going over the edge and in a hurry. And guys, lesson learned. I mean, okay, we showed great patience on that bear. We had him at 480. We didn't do it.
And, we could have. Okay, so this is the thing I keep going back to also is like, you could argue we could have tried to shoot him. I've even told myself maybe I should have tried to shoot him. But I do think we probably made the ethical decision. It was brushy enough and sketchy enough where it could have easily wounded that bear or just missed him or, deflected into the brush and gotten a really horrible shot or who knows what.
Well, so we talked about this, but we decided, I said, well, maybe you were shooting a 6.5 Creedmoor, which is a great gun, but maybe not the best brush gun.
Yeah.
And I had a 300 Win mag, and I said, maybe you should take my 300 and shoot through there. That way, if you're off a little, it still might do the job. But we decided not to do that.
Yeah.
And
whatever.
So a couple things we could have done just for people that are kind of listening for some tips. So in that retrospect, we looked at I saw a ridge that led down to him that was relatively open. It didn't look too bad. And I think you could have slipped down there. If I could have kept the gun on him and you could have slipped, I think you could have gone 20 yards.
Yeah.
And you would have had a shot.
I was just so like,
but that's risky.
I was so worried that like he could stand up at any second. Like, I thought maybe an hour or something he was going to stand up. Like,
every hour we kept saying any second he's got to stand
3 or 4 hours in, I'm like, dude, he's going to stand up any second. My job is just to be ready when it happens. So
we could have tried that. The other thing we could have tried, Lampers actually kind of got on me about that. He goes, why didn't you freaking predator call him? I'm like,
do you remember I said that though too?
I know, but here's the thing.
I did say
okay,
it.
That works. Actually, I just wrote an article about it. It's going to go up on Go Hunt, I think, in the next few days. I just wrote an article on calling bears. And here's the problem, guys. I thought about it a million times. In order to get that bear up and looking for that predator call, I felt my best option would have been to go down the trail away from him, put some distance, maybe 200 yards.
Right.
So that I felt like at 103 yards, if I blew that predator call, he was going to come out of his freaking skin.
Yeah.
So it was a calculated decision not to try it because we were so close.
Right. And we thought he was
going
to stand up.
That bear made any move except the move he made. He was a dead bear.
Yeah.
So
and when he did stand up for that split second, I mean, he was a beast. He had like huge gorilla forearms and like
longer we sat there, I got a chance to look at his face like a bunch for 5 hours with I had 16 power binoculars. I was zoomed in on him and his face was scarred up. He had gray hair all over his face. Yeah. That bear was old. He was just giant. He had everything. So I think I was more cautious because he was so freaking big that I just did not want to make a mistake on this bear.
Yeah.
I thought we did everything calculated. The only thing that I said we did wrong, well, I don't know, but the biggest mistake was we let it go too long.
Yeah.
I lost track of time.
Man,
And
this
I
one still
knew better.
stings me, man.
I knew better. And anyway, but man,
it still stings me.
Just
I'm not gonna
think
lie.
about how exciting it was.
It was super exciting.
It
you know,
was
like it's gonna take me a while.
epic.
It's gonna take me a while to get over it. Though. Like it's just when I go on Instagram and I see dudes with bears, and it's like,
dude, it was the most epic experience. Though we glassed the bear, we get on the bear, we find him in his bed, we sit on him in the rain for 5 hours. You literally had the gun on a tripod for almost the entire 5 hours. You were ready. You never let down. You were totally not going to be surprised. And I did
my best, man.
I was dozing off over there.
I'm not a very patient guy, but I will say to my credit, I was vigilant.
You did everything that was required to kill a bear of that caliber. And guys, that's how you kill bears like that. You do exactly what we did. And I'm telling you, 99 times out of 100, that's going to pay off.
Yeah.
And, it's going to pay off. And a bear of that size and bone structure of that bear, a bad shot was going to be bad.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Yeah.
And shooting a bedded bear when you can't see shoulders and you can't see.
Didn't know what it was.
And
brush.
You're really, really, really taking a chance. So I hope you can come to grips with it eventually, but
yeah, well,
that bear was a special bear.
It helps hearing you say that I did everything right. It helps,
dude. I mean, the only thing we did wrong was on me. It wasn't you. My job was to watch the time. My job was to pay attention to that. And I didn't. I lost track of it. The hours just started piling up on that bear. We sat there for hours and hours and hours.
5.5 hours is a long time.
Within 100 yards of a bear, everybody's like, man, you should have shot. You should have this. You should have that. I got it. I hear you.
I'm having all those same things in my own head. Don't worry, guys. You don't have to tell me.
So anyway, it was a very special bear. I've chased bears for a while now, and that was one of the top 10 bears.
No way, really?
Oh, dude, that bear was just a freaking.
You're just twisting the knife, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, at first, I'll be honest with you. When we saw him from the distance,
can you imagine
the chocolate color was incredible. He was probably the prettiest chocolate bear I've ever seen. Just pure chocolate. There was no mix of anything. He was just pure chocolate, which is special anyway. But once we looked at him for 5 hours, I started looking at the size of that log, and I started looking at his body size relation to that log. And once we got in the 100-yard range, I was like, oh, this is a bear. This is a freaking special bear. And then I started.
Can you imagine if that was my first bear?
That would have been, you would, that's it. Maybe that was good you didn't, because that would have been a hard one to top. And then we saw the size of that poop on the trail.
200-inch buck or something, just ruins it from then on.
That's exactly right. And I'm telling you right now, I've seen a lot of bear scat. That was some of the biggest bear scat that I have seen. Wow. That was giant piles of bear poop.
This was a legit, a sick bear. Coming from Mark.
It was great. Dude, I'm telling you, if you just saw that scat on the trail, I'd have been concerned. If I'd have been in grizzly country and saw that scat on the trail, I'd have been thinking that could be a small grizzly. That could be a problem.
He looked
we knew it wasn't, but it was, everything about that thing was so cool. I mean,
I named him Meatball because
we named him Meatball. So Meatball is going to go down in the infamous. So we're going to have to go back for that bear. Ryan is known for going back and killing the bears that he's seen the year before. He's done it multiple times. So you and I, we're on a mission now. Dude. If we end up going back to that spot, we're going right there.
That's a good point.
And we're going right after Meatball, because I'm telling you, I think he lives right there.
You think he'll be alive next year still?
Oh yeah, that bear ain't going nowhere. Well, one, we educated him a little bit, unfortunately. But
we know where to go.
I asked Ryan, when we ran into Ryan the next day, I said, hey, what do you think about that bear sticking around? He goes, man, I don't know. Bears that big, they're really lazy. They're really big. They're very mature. They don't just move away quickly. And I think we alarmed him, but I don't think he went. I don't think he left the country by any means. Shade the man. We went back and tried to put eyes on him again, but
we did. We spent
able to do
almost the whole next day trying to find him again.
Dude, we had to. That's a special bear. There's no way we could walk away from that bear without giving it a shot. So
there's another time where I remember that morning we were going to go back after him, but I knew there was a small bear across the river. Like we'd seen him every single day. I was like, let me just run and go see if that bear is still there. I don't know why I did it, but like before we left for the day, I like ran down the trail. I was like, yep, there he is.
On the same ridge that my bear was on?
The same ridge, little black one that we kept seeing. I was like, dude, I could shoot that bear right now. So here's a takeaway from this too, is like, that was a special bear, and we probably did the right thing to go back after him because he obviously lived there. But at this point in the hunt, I'm going to be honest with you. If I could go back and do this hunt again, I would have just shot that bear across the river because he was there. I had him. He was in range. It would have been painful, but it's kind of like that one in the hand is worth two in the bush. But, again, it's just another thing where, you could go either way on it, but we did end up going back to hunt because the one across the river was not like a big bear. He was just a, average bear. So, but I'm just being honest. If I go back in retrospect, I would have that day shot that bear across the river and just sucked it up. But anyway.
Well, that same ridge that we killed that I killed my bear on, where you're talking about where this other bear showed up, we kept an eye on that carcass because we could see the carcass from the other side. And, I've learned a couple of things. I've hunted over a dead bear carcass now 2 or 3 times. This same thing happened to me last year. So Ryan killed his bear last year, and Brian and I were back in the same area. And my bear that I missed a bear last year. And when that bear, he was heading for that carcass, but he never ate on that carcass. He was attracted to it, but he never ate on it. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if they just get nervous. I don't know. But that ridge where we killed that bear, we saw 3 different bears on that same ridge.
Yeah, it was a great ridge.
And, bears are just where they want to be. Sometimes there's just no rhyme or reason. And the combination of that ridge, that bear carcass, and something, but there was just a buttload of bears.
There was. So it was almost like a guaranteed. We knew there was going to be bears there, and that's where I wish.
We also knew that it was guaranteed pain. Yeah, but
it's one extra day of pain in the long run.
Well,
if I'd come out of there with 2 bears instead of 1.
We knew how to do it. We knew it could be done.
Yeah, and we had time on the hunt still. That's another thing. It's like I almost shot one on my pack out, which would have been a horrendous pain in the butt because I had to reset up camp, do all stuff, and it was a driving rain that day. And I could have just killed this smaller bear across the river and sucked it up for 1 extra day of, but it still was like 2 days before the end of the hunt. So,
dude,
that's where I've been beating myself up.
Don't even. Are you kidding me?
No.
I would trade MEATBALL for 3 years worth of bears.
Yeah.
I would not kill a bear for 3 years for the chance to kill that chocolate. Right. So I thought you did what you needed. We went back multiple times. We went back and looked for him like a lot.
Yeah, we did. And pretty much spent the rest of the hunt trying to find him.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it turned into the hunt for MEATBALL after that.
Yeah.
But that's what we needed to do. I mean, we're there to kill mature big bears. We're not there to wipe out the freaking cub population.
Yeah, but it's still like me, it's first bear.
I know, but still, dude, the chance at a bear like that, you always do it. Always do it.
Okay. So maybe we did make the right call.
You did. I think you did. I mean, because he could have just as easily showed himself one more time.
He could have, man. He definitely.
All he needed to do was, well, I think my biggest problem with you the next time, if he would have showed himself, you'd have been shooting from wherever we were.
I probably would have tried him at longer range.
Yeah, we would definitely.
Given how thick it was over there and what happened the first time, I might have tried.
Well, and how he just doesn't. That bear, it's clear to me. That bear doesn't expose himself very much and for very long.
Yeah.
He literally
until it started getting dark. I mean,
no, he bedded the entire day.
Yeah.
And so little thing, guys, we call it bear 30, but at high noon, we have killed so many bears in the middle of the day. They kind of go to bed in the morning and then they get up and move around. But this guy didn't.
No.
He never showed himself hardly at all during daylight hours. And I was worried that he was becoming a very nocturnal bear. We talked about that too.
Mm-hmm.
I said, that bear is turning into a very nocturnally focused bear. So we saw him really, really early in the morning, and that was it. So we're going to have to if we go back on that bear, we're going to have to do a different strategy. We may be early. first light on that dude.
Dude, we should definitely, we should definitely go see if we can get him again.
No, we're good.
And he's off limits. He's mine.
Oh, here we go. Now Hunter's turning into mini lampers. Now we got inventory of bears.
I have history with this bear, man. You can't take him from me.
Well, so I was kind of going to vote for you to try to sneak in on him while I kept my eyes on him.
I know. I think so that's why you wanted me to go.
You flush him out and then I shoot him.
I noticed you had your gun on the bipod and ready. Don't think I didn't notice that.
Dude,
I was ready to go on that thing, dude. That's why I didn't want to move. I was like, as soon as I get up to go, thing's going to stand up and Mark's going to blast him. So I was like,
well, I told you got one shot. as soon as you shoot, I'm shooting. And then we'll have to do an autopsy and figure out.
Oh my
anyway, goodness. I know we've been talking, dude. It was a great hunt with you. I really enjoyed my time. You really put in the effort, dude. I mean,
thanks, man.
Coming from Virginia, I saw your post. I knew you were getting ready, but you were fit. You were willing to go anywhere. You put up with miserable conditions. Even got your foot got hot for one day. But you got that under control quick. I had a sore toe too. That side healing stuff kind of put us in distress that one day.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, you hung in there. It was a great hunt. And
appreciate it, man.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoyed
welcome to the world of bear hunting. It was a really good trip.
Yeah. I learned a lot from you and enjoyed hanging out with you as well. And I think we had a good time. And so yeah, man, definitely wet my chops to go back on the hunt for meatball maybe next year. So
yeah.
But and by the way, those I ordered a pair of those binoculars you let me borrow.
Oh, dude, those are. It's funny. I just got a text today from a guy who sent me a picture of bears they killed, and we talked about these. Well, I mean, we could talk about them. I mean, we don't have any sponsor issues on this, I don't think, on your podcast. But these Sig Sauer image stabilizing binoculars, guys, this is a benefit. So I'm just going to tell you right now, if you've listened to this podcast for what are we, 2 hours almost?
Yeah, I might break it into two, but we'll see.
Yeah, you do 2 segments, whatever. If you've hung in with us, this tip right here is worth all the time you spend listening to the Hunter's Quest. So I've been doing this for a long time. I have a pair of Swaros. I have pairs of the Razor HD 12 Vortexes. I've had a pair of Maeve. I've had them all. I'm not going to say I've had them all. I've had a lot of binoculars. I'm kind of a binocular snob.
Yeah.
And when I found these binoculars, I kind of laughed a little. I mean, they're bird watching binoculars. Okay. And they're image stabilizing binoculars from Sig Sauer. They come in a 10 power and a 16 power. And I brought both. And I asked you at the trail if you wanted to use my 10s
for the whole week. So I got to use them for a whole week.
They are so money. I can't tell you what a game changer they are. And here's the thing. They're not the best low light binocular there is.
Okay? Or even the best optical quality and clarity.
That's right. They're not.
They lose a little bit with that.
They lose a little, but that image stabilizing gives you the ability to pick up even the slightest of slight movement.
Mm-hmm.
And the clarity of the stabilization far outweighs any of the glass quality in my mind.
Wow. You really?
So
I remember one time, when I was sitting on that bear for 5 hours on meatball, with the stabilize, like he was hard to see, even though we knew exactly where he was. This is how thick it was and how hidden he was. He was hard to see, even though at 100 yards, we knew exactly where he was. But, I still glassed him like 7 million times. And with those stabilized 10s, I was holding my rifle in one hand and I just reach up with my glass with one hand and get a really good look at him and put it down. Any other binocular would be too shaky to even find the thing.
That's right. So think about this, guys. So bear hunting, you're walking and glassing, right? As you're walking along a lot of times. Now, a lot of times we're set up. And so and I'm not trying to say, guys, I got no vested interest in it. Maybe after they hear this, they'll want to send me some more stuff. But
me too, please.
Here's the deal. When I'm walking down the ridge and I see something I want to take a look at with a pair of 16s, there is no 15s, 14s, 12s. There's nothing above 10s that you can throw up one-handed and get a good look at something that's 500 yards. It's not possible with any other pair. I don't care how good a quality the glass is.
Yeah.
But with those 16s and the wind blowing 20 miles an hour, free hand, one hand, I can do a quick check. No, that's not a bear. Put it back in and move on. Any other binocular, you're going to have to sit down, pull up a tripod or your trekking pole.
Even 12s you need a tripod
to stabilize that binocular for a second to get a look.
Yeah, for sure.
And so anyway, I ordered
them.
Did you order both pairs?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I had to.
So here's the other thing. I know we talk about this
tomorrow,
guys. When I realized how good they were, I used the 10s, right? I didn't have the 16s at first. The first time I ever got to look through them, it was a 10 power, and I was sold.
Yeah.
So when I found out they had the 16s, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to have both of them. So I ordered both, just like you did. Well, I paid attention, but I really didn't pay attention. When I got them, I'm like, these are ridiculously light, these 16s. So I started doing some looking. So I'm working on an article right now to compare, a review of these right now, actually. But when I looked at the weight of the 16s and the weight of the 10s, you can carry both of these binoculars, and combined, they are significantly lighter than any 15 on the market. Both of them.
Really?
These 16s, both of them combined is lighter than any 15 on the market.
Well, question then, would you consider, I got a hunt in October coming up, and very tough terrain, lots of elevation. Would you consider the stabilized 16s and not bring a spotting scope, or are you still bringing a spotting
scope? Depends on, I would look at your canyons and how far across. I would say anything under, are you going to take your camera? Obviously,
that's the thing. I can't, it's hard to justify a long lens and a spotting scope.
No, if you've got your long lens
between me and my partner, one of us, we're both filming, so maybe one of us can carry the camera lens and one can carry the spotter.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
We got to have one spotter.
I don't know. You've already told me you're talking about mule deer, right?
Yeah.
You told me you're after any good mule deer, right?
Well, I also have an elk tag, but there's antler size restrictions on the elk in this
like
area.
4 points or what?
It's by
brow tine.
Yeah.
Oh, no problem. Those 16s, you can see a brow tine for sure. Now, if you're trying to field judge and maybe a spotting scope is beneficial.
Yeah. Not really. Like, honestly, if it's a nice mature animal, it's fine for me.
I wouldn't take it. Yeah. Now, the reason I'm carrying mine right now is I've never ran spotting scope until this year. I've owned a bunch. I never take them. I hate them. And the only reason I got one this year is I really like doing the phone scope for what we're doing for filming and stuff. We're able to capture some additional imagery, and it allows me to really check out bears. Like on a more relaxed basis with my phone.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying it, but man, by the time you carry a tripod and a spotting scope, it's considerable. I mean, it's considerable. So, but those 16s, dude, there's nothing that we saw that I couldn't handle with that 16 power. No doubt about it.
Well, hopefully mine actually might be here today. We'll see, but
they're money, man. And the price is incredible. Not only all the other things we already mentioned, but they're like $750.
Yeah, and they're $50 ish cheaper on Amazon than they are in Sig's website. Just saying.
Well, I'm just saying, guys, for the money, are you kidding me? Try to go look at any other 15s and look at the price. Yeah. You're looking at $3,000 for swirl 15s. Mm-hmm. You're looking at a couple of $1,000s for Mavens and Leica and Leicas and even Vortexes, and you're looking at some, $700.
Yeah, they're legit. So
they run off a battery. They run off a battery is what helps with the image. I don't know the technology behind it, but they're very battery. On that 10-day hunt, you changed the battery pretty early on, right? The battery was going dead.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's it. That's the only time we had to change the battery on those 10s.
Wasn't that a battery from last year too?
Yeah. I've used it all season.
Yeah.
And I've been on, now I've done 2 10-day hunts, and I just changed the battery on so the 16s take a double A battery, and the 10s take that C25 battery, that little more lithium, smaller lithium battery. So literally one battery is going to get, and we glass a lot for bears, right? So you're turning them on and on and off. And so literally one battery, maybe 2 per trip is all you need.
Yeah.
So anyway, I love them. I can't say enough about them. I almost hate putting it out there because it's such a good tip, but hey, that's what it's here for, guys. That's why Hunter does this podcast.
Yeah.
That's why we're filming. That's why I have my course. I used to not be this way, Hunter. I used to not want to share anything, right? I kept everything, like, I never even had social media. I wouldn't post. I have almost no kill shots of my animals in my older eras because I just didn't want them. But I've changed, and I really have gotten a lot of, I don't know. There's just a tremendous value to me now to share things. I really enjoy it. I'm kind of mad at myself for not doing it early in my career.
Well, that's what the older generation is here for, Mark. To pass on their wisdom to younger bucks.
Whatever wisdom I have, I'm willing to pass it on. So anyway,
and I'm jokes aside, Mark can keep up with anybody out there. So well, I've seen him.
Yeah, we'll see. My knees are still paying the price.
Trips across the river, but he's definitely good for one.
Oh man. Yeah, anyway. I can only do one trip across that river, maybe every 2 or 3 days. All right, man. Well, looking forward. Hey, good luck with the fall. I know you're doing mule deer, and I think you might be with us.
We might be linking up. We might be linking up in Montana for the deer hunt. I don't know how it's going to work out. Maybe I'll share a base camp with you guys and hunt it kind of in a different direction, or who knows, but we'll figure it out.
Okay, man. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, man. So anyway, this has been a long one. I think I'll probably break it up into 2, but me and Mark had a great time out there. And where people might want to look at more of your stuff or whatever, where can people find your stuff if they want to check out the Treeline Academy?
Well, follow me on Treeline. I really, on Instagram is what I do most of my stuff on. So Treeline Pursuits, Treeline_Pursuits. Yeah. And then if you'd like to check out my course, I got an e-scouting out course that we didn't talk about, which
isn't that amazing? We did a 2-hour podcast and we just mentioned
but if you'd like to check that at treelineacademy.net. And I want to add that a lot of the reason that I'm doing more filming and stuff is that I'm working really hard on my next course, which was going to be bear hunting, and it's going to be full. It's going to be tactical bear hunting and e-scouting bears combined.
Okay, cool.
So Ryan, Brian, and I are teaming up on this course. So next year it'll be available this winter sometime, and it'll be available before next spring, I'm pretty sure. So I'm working really hard on it, and I've got so much content on these last couple hunts.
Yeah.
We
didn't mention it, but Mark is an e-scouting and mapping wizard. It's kind of what he's known for. So if you don't really know much about Mark, definitely check out Treeline Academy. I've started it. It's really great. It teaches you a ton about finding elk, and now this new bear one, and even mule deer and whatever. So definitely check him out there.
Hey, thanks, man. It's been a joy. It's been a joy.
Yeah, dude. So let's stay in touch, man. I think I'll see you again soon, but definitely let's stay in touch.
Okay, brother.
Let me know how the rest of your season goes.
I got one more. We leave in bear hunting, and I leave again in a couple more days. Ryan and them are coming out, and then we're going in, finish up one more 10-day hunt to go. Okay, cool. Well, I wish I could get back out there, honestly, but next year I guess we'll get after him. Okay, man. All right, brother. See you. Talking to you. Thanks. Cool. Okay, thanks, man. Yeah, that was a long one, but hey, maybe you got 2 episodes to set. No, I'm going to do that. I'm going to break it up into like the story of us killing the bear. And it's really cool because I was sitting like looking at the footage as we were talking about it. Yeah, that's cool. Which, do you want to see the kill shot or do you care? Yeah, no, let's see it real quick. Right. I'd love to see it. No, so, shit, dude, yeah, and definitely don't forget to send me the thing. But I'm gonna break it up into your bear, and then we'll do another episode about meatball. But okay, here, let me pull it up.
Let's see.
Brian, that's a bitch. He just texted me. He goes, Brian's coming out today to bring Pedro to the airport. He goes, but I found a big chocolate this morning. So Brady and I are going to stay another day to try to get him dead.
Nice.
They just can't let it go.
So did they kill one with Brady, or is there? They
started off terrible. I think they were not seeing very many bears, little bears, bunch of he said they had 11 bears on one slope. Whoa. And they were all little. And Brian killed a big chocolate early, and that was it. But they killed
Ryan did, or Brian did?
Brian.
Okay.
And so they went through a dry spell for about a week. And then just the last couple of days, the last time they killed 3 bears in 2 days.
Oh, nice, man.
So they've killed 4, and they got 1 more to go.
That's awesome.
And they got this one. They're trying to kill this one. Oh, man. Oh, he did roll just like a little bit.
Just a little. But anyway, I got this is the other shot, which hopefully Brian will let me use, even though it's not a Weatherby and a freaking loophole. But
tell him I need that's my advertisement for them sending me one.
I know. But anyway, I got this shot. Then I got another angle as well. I got like this kind of angle, which is not as high quality of a camera, but it'll be cool to have 3 different.
Yeah, that's cool.
So anyway, man, should be cool.
Yeah. All right, brother. I'll send you stuff today. I'll do it right now.
All right. Sounds good, man. Good talking to you.
Okay. See you.
Talk soon.